Good to go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're joining us today. You should be joining us live on YouTube today. And welcome to the Favorable Outcome Real Estate webinars. We're going to try to have one once a week, either on YouTube or Facebook Live. And there'll be recordings on both platforms, YouTube and Facebook. And you can email me also at support@favorableoutcomesinrealestate.com to get an update. But our first guest on our webinar on the favorable outcomes in real estate is Dan DiMaria from Fairway Mortgages. And of course, we're going to have mortgage people, real estate, home-related things that are on the webinar once a week. But our first guest, like our first case on the other podcast that we had,
that's right,
and the old Near North Suburb Chicago Vice Givers podcast, which it's going to be Favorable Outcomes in Real Estate podcast, which will be coming up very shortly on iTunes and Stitcher. But Dan DiMaria, we have him in studio today. It's hard to get him down and trapped. He's working hard always, but I'm glad we have him here. And Dan, welcome to the webinar, man.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, no problem.
Glad to be able to help people understand the mortgage process a little better, as well as the real estate process, which you're so good at. Glad to be here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so if you're listening to us live, it's what's the date today? 21st on Thursday, about 11:30 Central Time in the United States. You can chat with us if you want. You can raise your hand, answer some questions. I'm not sure if anybody's on our chat. We're checking now. Like, this is our first one of all times. But we have a couple poll questions coming up later, and we also have, for you joining us today, we actually have a free app that that Fairway Mortgage and Coldwell Banker are working together to have this private app that you need a VIP code. We'll give you that later on in the webinar. But for thanking us, joining us here today. First question we have for Dan today is, I know you've been. How long has the Fairway been around in the business? And tell us a little about your business. I know it was a brief introduction to you, but let us know where you're.
So Fairway's been around 20 plus years. They started in Madison, Wisconsin. Actually, a guy named Steve Jacobson started our company. People don't know a lot about Fairway. It's fun for me because we are right now, I believe, the 7th biggest lender in the United States. We compete with all the bigger mortgage companies because we are a bigger mortgage company. But the beauty of Fairway is that we still keep the real name of our company is Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. That's because guys like me are pretty much independent, and we service our own clients, our customers. But the beautiful thing about Fairway is we do have an amazing, amazing support team. In fact, we were just voted for the 4th year in a row the best mortgage company to work for in the United States, and we're very proud of that. The reason I bring that up isn't so much to brag about it, it is to show you the reason people like me vote us #1 is because of our support staff. They fully understand the needs of a buyer. They fully understand the needs of a realtor. So that combination is really, really effective and helps us get loans closed very quickly, usually in 30 days or less, and clear to closes in usually 21 days or less. That's pretty good. So I'm really happy to be with Fairway.
That's very good. Yeah, you'll notice, and I've been in the real estate industry, is the process, if it's nice and smooth, and also if things go smooth and they're fast, no wait time, and it's huge. It's tremendous in the real estate world. Hey, Dan, so can you tell us a little bit, what are the most common questions people ask you about the process? Like, how do I start the process? What's the middle part of it, and what's all the way to closing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand the process. With loans, it's once again, Fairway has simplified the process because we have an app called Fairway Now. You can download that app from your app store. It's called Fairway Now. The process, basically, the first thing you want to do before you even see a real estate agent would be get yourself pre-approved. #1, it allows you to understand what you can afford and what your payment will be roughly, and just put you in a better spot mentally to know this is what I can afford. So when you're out there with a great realtor like Dave, that you know, I'm comfortable with this purchase price, and that just gives you the peace of mind and the freedom to be able to do that. So the first step is let's get pre-approved. Next step would obviously be to go out and look with the quality realtor like Dave, like I mentioned, find that place you like, then you come back to us, and we basically from there start gathering the information we need. We go to a processor first, and a lot of people don't understand the technicalities of it, but that processor will review all of our stuff, all of your information, all the stuff that you submit to us, and then submit that to underwriting. We like to hand in clean files, and makes it a lot easier for the whole process and more effective. It's important to know that loan rates, interest rates are basically determined by your debt to income ratio and your credit score. But I advise people always that there's options for everybody at every credit score and every interest rate. So certain interest rates, when you hear somebody say, well, it's a no cost loan. Well, there's always a cost. I'm going to be the proud to tell you there's a cost. A little higher interest rate gets you a credit, and they tell you that it's free. It's not free, but it should be noted that there are options at different interest rates. I always tell people everybody's got 3 different interest rates, and Dave's and my interest rate will be completely different even if we were buying the same house, because of our credit scores, our debt to income. Within that, we know that there's options at different interest rates. So when somebody asks me their interest rates, my answer is always the same. I can't really tell you until I evaluate and I know what you're looking for.
And isn't it true too, like, can you help them along? Like, hey, say that you try to get them pre-approved. They're like, your score is this, your interest rate is going to be this. But if you take 6 months off, get your credit together, repaired.
Great point. So we do actually a credit analysis for you, and some people are borderline, and I don't know if we're going to get to in this particular episode if we're going to get to FHA versus conventional, but any credit score under 620 would go FHA, and anything over 620 can go conventional. Doesn't mean you can't get an FHA with a higher score. You can, but we are very proud of the fact that we can tell people we're not credit advisors or anything like that, but there is a way within our system to allow us to say, if you do A, B, and C, your credit score potentially will go up which will
save you money.
The higher your credit score, the lower the interest rate.
Right. It'll save you money in that 30-year fix that you get, or whatever you pay it off at.
Correct.
So that's good. That's good. Yeah. So that's good that you guys do that, because that's a big thing. Because a lot of people get like, oh man, why do I need like credit score? I'll just do what I have, and you'll save you.
Yeah, and that's offered by our credit reporting service. So it's a nice feature that we share with people.
And I just, if you're listening live here on the show, I just shared with you our document. So our free real estate private app to search for homes nationwide, right, Dan? I mean, we can pretty much be in anywhere.
Yeah, you're talking about the HomeScout app.
HomeScout app.
HomeScout is a little different than Fairway now, and Dave will probably talk a little bit about it. But HomeScout is one of the few apps for your phone, obviously, or iPad or Android that will actually have 100% of the MLS listings. It's 100% private. One of the things I think is interesting to note, Dave, and people don't realize this, that Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, those are all marketing companies.
Yep.
HomeScout is a real estate company run by a company called HBM, who are realtors. They're real estate agents. Right. The rest of those are marketing companies. So we don't sell your name. As soon as you go on Zillow and put your name in, you can watch out. You're going to have 3 mortgage people calling you, 3 real estate agents calling you.
That's correct.
That doesn't happen with our HomeScout app, and it is 100% of the MLS listings. All the aforementioned, the ones I mentioned earlier, that's not true. There's 70% of the listings. There's old data. Ours updates basically every 10 minutes. If the pending sales posted, it doesn't waste your time. You know that it's pending. It is by far the most accurate and most private app out there, and it's called HomeScout. Again, you can go there, and Dave's got his VIP code.
So if you use my VIP code, David Rigney, you're actually getting my link through the MLS. That's why it's so accurate. And you're not getting any ads like Zillow, Trulia, or the other sites.
Nobody's going to bother you.
We're not going to bother you. It's only me and Dan are seeing your information. We don't share. We don't spam you. So you shop pretty much at your leisure.
Yeah, I would say if you're watching this, or you're obviously, if you're seeing us, you're watching it, go to the HomeScout app, HomeScout, and download it. You can put in either David Rigney or Dave Rigney. Which one do you have?
It's David Rigney.
David Rigney, or you can go put it under Dan DiMaria.
Yeah.
Either one, and you will have probably the most useful home search tool on the market.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's actually in the App Store and either the Google or Apple, whatever phone you have, but it's all there. So, but you need a code, a VIP code to get in. But it's a great app.
Our names.
Yeah, you're good. Or just like I said, you can email us at support@favorableoutcomesinrealestate.com for more information. The next question, Dan, we have for you today is, what are the 5 to 7 benefits versus you're a mortgage broker? Now, you can just go right down the street to a Chase or a Wells Fargo and say, hey, I bank here.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. I get this question a lot as a realtor. It's like, hey, I bank with U.S. Bank or Chase. I'll just go down and get their program. And I think Dan can talk more about it. What I know is there's only like 2 or 3 programs they have. And so, but Dan, as a mortgage broker, is shopping, what, about 12 banks?
Well, we're a direct lender at Fairway, which is nice.
Okay.
However, certain times you're going to want to use different lenders because, like any other business, there's specialties. So certain times we will become a broker and broker that loan out to what
somewhere else,
to the situation.
Yeah, and they'll save the client more money.
Correct. The banks, the fee. Quicken has some of the highest. Quicken Loans has some of the highest costs and interest rates in the market. It's real easy. Obviously, they're paying for a lot of ads, and I'm not here to slam them. I mean, they do a lot of loans. They know what they're doing. It's just that they're not necessarily the best value on the street. And I say value because the service is what's really important.
Right.
But again, you do get a lot of the big banks. They have your accounts there. It's easy for them to say, hey, use your mortgage, and it's convenient. But convenience sometimes you pay for.
It might cost you.
Right. And we pride ourselves at Fairway with really just being a service-driven mortgage company. Our rates, we know, are super competitive. And we got a little guest.
Yeah.
We have a little guest here in the studio. So there's our guest. But again, you're familiar with companies like LendingTree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So with me, you're basically getting the same exact advantage that we're going to go shop that out to the market. 9 times out of 10, Fairway is going to be your lender and have the most competitive rates and the best costs.
Okay.
Just because we are. Now I can go back to saying I'm proud that we're a bigger lender because the dogs. Because we have these options and we can be competitive on our pricing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's all if you have more resources available to shop and save you more money. That's what it's all about. That's what a lot of buyers don't know in the process of getting a loan. How about refinancing? Any process of refinance? It's pretty easy, right, to refinance?
Refinancing is really a super simple process. Some people get overwhelmed by it. But the key with the refinance is right now the rates are very good. Consolidating debt is still a very good option for a lot of people. We're not at the rates we were at last summer, but we are still relatively low. So for a refinance, all I really need is a mortgage statement. And I can tell you right from looking at that mortgage statement, if we can save you money or not, or consolidate debt. So that's a big help for us to get a mortgage statement. It's that simple. And we will be the first ones to tell you yes or no that, this is not something you should do, or this is really a good thing and you probably should take advantage of it.
Cool. And what are the most misconceptions, like people think getting into this? Oh, I thought it was this way, or I thought it was that way. Like when you're getting a loan.
I think people need to be very cautious of cost. Again, you're going to hear the terms no cost. Everything has a cost. No lender is giving it away for free.
Right.
So I think that's where people get confused. Well, I saw in the newspaper I could get a refinance and there's no cost to me. Well, that's true, but in the end, you're still paying for it, either through the interest rate or upfront costs.
Right. There's some costs involved in everything.
Correct.
And then what are so if you're shopping for a loan and what's the lock? What should I lock? Should I float? What is that whole thing about?
So lock versus float, Dave, that's a good question. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with it. So when you lock a loan, what you're really doing is telling that lender to reserve your money for whatever that amount you need is, whether it's a refi or a purchase, okay? And the lender will do that for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, in some in between. But that just guarantees that your rate is not going to go up. So if let's say you lock today and interest rates tomorrow go up, you're getting today's price because you locked it. If you were floating it and interest rates went up, then you're subject to possibly having to lock in at a higher rate. Okay. Now let's talk about environment, right? In a falling environment, floating is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Today, as we speak here on September 21st, 2017,
21st.
I'm a fan of locking. I had one yesterday. We locked it, and boom, rates went up right after the Fed spoke yesterday. So, so floating or locking is really how much risk somebody wants to take. Some people want to take a little risk, think they can get lower, and sometimes they can. And some people like locking in, knowing that if rates go higher, they're locked in at that price. Right now, I would say we're in more of a lock environment because we are still relatively near our lows from last summer. But that doesn't mean I'm right, because if I was, I'd be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, and it also it matters on what the meetings, right? The Feds, they're setting the rates.
Yeah.
So it depends when that meeting is, which you know when that meeting is,
right?
And the outcomes. I think on Facebook you posted like the other day, like the Treasury, Treasury, what they do and stuff. So that has a lot to do with the normal rates every day, right? If they're going up and down.
Right, and that's where it's our job to worry about the interest rate for you, and we like to educate our clients. We also like to look, I like to call a mortgage. People look at mortgages as, oh, it's house debt. It's not house debt. This should be part of your investment strategy, how you use your mortgage, how you refinance, what age you're at. Mm-hmm. If you're over 62, you're going to see more and more. There's a negative stigma about reverse mortgages, but in the future, meaning in 5 years, almost everyone that's 62 or older is going to migrate towards a reverse mortgage, because the new reverse mortgage is completely revamped. Your family doesn't lose the house. You do live there your whole life, as does your spouse. It's just a really solid product. But point being is that you should always be evaluating your mortgage. It's part of your financial asset portfolio that needs to constantly be revisited.
It's a huge investment you're making, and it's huge money you're putting out every month. So you should actually watch it.
That's right. And there's money in your house. So sometimes it's better to take the money in your house. The old mentality of that your house's equity is just that equity doesn't really do you any good. It's real cash.
Right.
And you may be able to put that money to work in a better way than just sitting in your house.
Right. Especially now in the Chicagoland area, we really had a strong seller's market, one of the best strong seller's markets. Had it like 2 years in a row now, but this year, this spring market, summer market that we're just getting out of, man, it was the strongest it's been in like 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of equity building up in the Chicagoland area. I think it was kind of crazy, but hey, strong sellers market, sellers are making out before buyers were making out like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's all good. It's one of those. It's part of the mortgage industry. Any other anything you want to add about mortgages?
No, I think that it's important to know you want to go with a company or a team. That's one of the reasons I'm at Fairway, that knows how to get loans done, treats the client and respects the client's time, makes it as easy and smooth as possible. It should not be a stressful event. However, there's going to be times it is. Certain loans, especially with purchases, sometimes it gets a little bit nerve-wracking. People are planning on moving and things don't necessarily go right to schedule. I'm proud to say most of the time we are to schedule, but there's always a hiccup in the road, and our job during that hiccup is to make sure it still gets complete, make sure it still gets done, and let us do the worrying about it.
As I say, there's a lot of people's hands are in the pie or go in the process too. So the job of the lender, like Dan, or the realtor, they're also trying to make sure they're coordinating the deal to make sure it all stays together. And there's a lot of stuff. The new federal laws that just came about a couple years ago. I mean, you got the new federal laws that are actually making it not harder, but buyers got to jump through more hoops.
Yeah.
The lenders got to do more paperwork, more things, more accountability, more paper trail.
A lot of regulations.
A lot of regulations. Writing more letters.
There's a lot of time. Firm times you have to do certain things, and I do believe. Not because I work there, I am telling you nobody does it better than Fairway. They don't. I
mean, you have to have support. A lender could be, going out there doing their thing, but if they don't have a good support like Fairway, you got to have that behind-the-scenes support, right? Keep everybody on pace.
And Fairway is one of the few companies that really appreciates the client. They appreciate their time. They know what they're going through.
They created this. They put out all the money for this app. So this is HomeScout, that app we were talking about before. They put out all the money basically to get this app working. It's very expensive to create an app. So again, if you go on Google Play or the Apple iTunes, you can find HomeScout, and then you need a name like David Rigney, a VIP code to actually get it. I mean, it's unbelievable the money they're putting out for an app like that. It's very expensive. Anything else? We got anything else to add? We just want to make these brief every week. We're trying to do, excuse me, a webinar once a week. Someone from the real estate industry, something about your home that you have questions about. Like I said, if you want to go to support at support at favorableoutcomesinrealestate.com for questions, or you can go to David at davidrigney.com for questions about webinar. If you want to see stuff during the week about certain topics, we're here for you to support and give you good education. This webinar is about real estate education. So the process that you're going to go through or you're thinking about going through, we want to make you aware of the situations that could happen and people to reach out to that are they're experts in this field.
And I want to thank you for having me today. And the more educated our clients are, the easier the process becomes. And I know it's Dave's goal, and a lot of the people in our industry that we work with, even some of Dave's other realtors, he'll tell you, our attorneys, our goal is to make that process as smooth as possible. Hopefully you can assemble a team between your lender, your attorney, and your realtor working together. The home buying process does not need to be a nightmare. It should be actually something that is
it should be a joyous occasion. It can be a little stressful, but if you have the right people in place, it won't be that stressful, and you'll be like actually happy the whole time instead of being angry stressed out. And man, I've seen it all in the 14 years I've been doing it. So less stress is the most important in anything, but in real estate world it is, because you don't do it a lot. Dan, how can people get a hold of you for questions or to get refinanced or new loans?
Either you can download the Fairway Now app and select DIMaria as your lender. You can do the HomeScout, either David Rigney or DIMaria as the VIP code, or you can always contact me at ddimaria, DDIMARIA at fairwaymc.com. And of course, my cell phone, always willing to answer, is 312-363-9595. We are local. We are a local lender, which is also an advantage because you can sit down and talk with us. We're not somebody on the phone, especially with Fairway. You're going to get myself and Heather, my assistant. You work with us the whole way through the process.
Okay, it's very important to be able to reach somebody, because if you work with other banks or other lenders, sometimes the process is in another state and then they don't call you back.
A lot of levels of people, and
it's not good. So, but thanks again for joining us on the Favorable Outcomes in Real Estate webinar. Again, we like to have one once a week. It's either going to be on YouTube or Facebook Live. If you register, you always get the recordings, and you can also get notifications of the next webinar that we're going to have. But thanks again for Dan DiMaria from Fairway Mortgage.
Thank you for having me.
And like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. But thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.